What's up, everybody? Welcome to the 12th Man FC. My name is Edwin Rosales Martinez. This is Matchweek 11 preview for the Premier League. This weekend, we've got some very, very huge matchups coming before the next international break kicks in next weekend. So after this upcoming weekend, the players will officially be on international duty for 2 weeks until late November. So this is a huge match week for everyone in the league. So let's get right into it. We got the first big match of the weekend: Tottenham Hotspur hosting Manchester United in the league as the early game kickoff Saturday morning. This is going to be a very big match for both clubs, as a win for either one of them we'll see them move up to second place. They're both level on points right now, with Tottenham having the nod on United through goal difference. So, yeah, this is going to be a huge game for both teams. Spurs not looking too convincing so far this season under Thomas Frank. It's just they've been very inconsistent, and I think that the fans have picked up on that a lot. And, they don't necessarily like too much what they're seeing because of the fact that it's very inconsistent. Spurs. I don't want to say that. I guess compared to Ange Postecoglou's approach, to the way that the Spurs under him played and everything. Like, Spurs have been scoring a good amount of goals. Like, they've had a lot of matches this season so far that have ended, with them winning 2-0, 3-0. They're just coming off of a 4-0 win in the Champions League versus Copenhagen. So I don't think that, I'm not really sure what a lot of the Spurs fans. I can't speak for Spurs fans because I'm not a Spurs fan. I'm not watching a lot of Tottenham games this season as of right now. So I'm only going based off of everything that I'm seeing online, fans' reactions, stuff like that. Like, they are a team that can score goals. They're also pretty well set up defensively too. So I think they're tied for second place with goals allowed. Least goals allowed in the league so far this season, with 8. They've only conceded 8 goals in the league. So and Arsenal are the only team that have conceded fewer goals than that. So yeah, I think they're a team that can score a lot of goals. They're not letting up a lot in defense or anything like that. It's just, I guess, the inconsistencies in performances in terms of dominating matches, maybe letting opponents kind of take the match to them a little bit more than Spurs fans would like, and everything like that, and also not putting any matches away. Like, you look at the last match against Chelsea last weekend, and that was a horror show for Spurs fans to watch, considering the fact that Tottenham had 0.05 expected goals throughout the entirety of the whole match. They had 3 shots the whole match compared to Chelsea's 15. So they created absolutely nothing. They had nothing in that match, and they just, from what I saw too, based on the highlights, they just looked absolutely sloppy as well. And then you have the drama that took place after the final whistle blew, with Thomas Frank and Jet Spence and Mickey Van de Ven snubbing Thomas Frank, as Frank was trying to give them a handshake and trying to console them and all that stuff. So that was not a good look either. So, and I've also seen online too that the atmosphere at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium has been absolutely horrific this season so far. It's just not really a good vibe or good energy in the stadium, because if you're a part of the home crowd and stuff, because they're not really finding anything to get behind the players for. And it's kind of, I can see how soul sucking that would be, as a very passionate Tottenham Hotspurs fans, and also even for the players too. They can definitely pick up on that as well. So, and I think that definitely feeds into the inconsistencies and the performances too. So yeah, this is going to be a huge test for Tottenham Hotspur, and I do think, like I said, whoever wins this match will go into second place. I do think that United would definitely benefit more from winning the match than Tottenham Hotspur would, and that's simply because of the fact that I do think that United are a better team than Tottenham, hands down. I do think that they have more potential to, in I guess the short term future, kind of get into they have more chance of being like a staple in the top four conversation, and then kind of like midterm goal being like title contenders. So to say, they have more of a chance and opportunity than Tottenham Hotspur do in that regard. So I do think that if Tottenham Hotspur were to win, I don't think that Tottenham's gonna contend for the title. I don't think that they're going to be a part of any title race whatsoever this season. I don't even necessarily think that they're going to be in contention for Champions League qualification this season either. I think they're more so. I think they have a better chance at qualifying for the Europa League or Conference League this season, but it's still going to be a massive improvement from last season, considering the fact that they finished in 17th place last season. So yeah. But moving with United now, this is going to be a huge opportunity for them as well, because, like I said, if they win, they move into second place. But because of the fact that last weekend against Brentford, United lost, or United fumbled a huge opportunity to finish last weekend in third place, which would put them in a very good spot coming into this weekend ahead of City having place to face Liverpool. Because if they were in third place coming into this weekend, and then they end up getting 3 points against Tottenham, then it's like, oh shoot, they're like in touch and distance for Arsenal. They're in touch and distance with Arsenal ahead of Arsenal having to face Sunderland, which could it could cause some good mind games there for Arsenal as well, heading into that match versus Sunderland. So yeah, I think this is going to be a huge match. I think Manchester United. I think in more recently, we're starting to see a little bit more of what Ruben Amorim is capable of doing with this team. I still think that they have loads of work to do before they're ever going to be in the conversation of, oh snap, Manchester United's back to their dominant ways and stuff like that. They have a long way to go before that. But I think if they could stay within the conversation of being in the top four consistently throughout the entirety of the season, I think that United fans and United have a lot of good things to look forward to in the next 3 to 5 years, before, with like this whole rebuild project that Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ruben Amorim are trying to like kind of see through at the club right now, because I do think that Manchester United have issues that go far beyond, the 11 players that are playing on the pitch and everything. Like, it's all a whole systemic issue that they got going on and everything. So yeah, I think if they could pick up the 3 points against Tottenham, I think that's going to put them in a really good place to kind of like ride off of for the rest of the season, if they could stay within the top four, maybe even the top five consistently throughout the rest of the season. And all that. So yeah, I think this is going to be a huge match for both teams. I think they have to capitalize on the fact that they could see second place heading into a very vital match, or before a very vital match with City and Liverpool taking place and everything. So that one's going to be very interesting to watch for everybody. That one's going to be the early kickoff on Saturday morning. I unfortunately don't think I'll be able to watch it because of the fact that I do work overnight, and sometimes I get out of work. I get out of work before 7:30 a.m. unfortunately. So yeah, but that one's going to be a huge one to pay attention to. Then we have a really key match with Sunderland versus Arsenal after that Tottenham Hotspur and Manchester United match. And Sunderland have been performing absolutely amazingly this season, well beyond anyone's expectations. Coming into this season, I think it's fair to say that most of us thought that the three teams that got promoted this, at the end of last season coming into this season, were just going to go straight back down. And I don't think that that's unfair to say, considering the fact that that's been the case for the past two seasons. The past two seasons, the three teams that got promoted went straight back down. And that's kind of been very common in the league for quite a while. And that's why that has been the case in the league. That's a completely different discussion altogether and everything. But Sunderland have done so well that they started the first 10 matches of the season immensely incredibly, and what's the secret to that, right? I think that I think that the biggest thing behind that is the recruitment that Sunderland have been doing for the past few months. Not even just this summer, but leading into the summer, because of the fact that, after looking into it, I saw that Sunderland had two contingency plans last season. One for building sustainability in the championship, and if they were to get promoted and everything like that. So they brought in some good recruitment pieces into the whole organization on the pitch, and even for pieces behind closed doors. Like the directors of football have done an amazing job, and Sunderland have brought those directors of football in the past, this year alone, and everything. They've just done beautifully on the recruitment side. They spent £155 million this summer on 14 players, and they funded nearly half of that amount through the players that they have sold. They sold four key players. One of those players being Joe Bellingham, for a total of like 70 million or something like that, which is roughly half, or close to half of the 155 million that they ended up spending and everything. So those players that came in, including Granit Xhaka, who has been a key figure for Sunderland. A lot of people have been saying that he has been the game changer for Sunderland as well. All those players are meshing together incredibly well with each other. I think I read too that a lot of those players that they signed out of those 14 happen to be French, and the head coach for Sunderland is French as well. So I think that relationship building, since the fact that they can speak French and that they're Frenchmen and everything like that, that has definitely helped. So the group has meshed really well with each other. They play very physical. The tactical setup is working really well for them as well. I think that they're definitely strong on set pieces too, which is a strength that Arsenal has as well. They have the most goals through set pieces this season and everything. Some of them take advantage of long throw-ins as well, which every team is doing also. So yeah, it's going to be a super, super tough challenge for Arsenal coming into this weekend, because of the fact that, like I said, Sunderland performing above anyone's expectations. Sunderland also, with the current gap at the top of the table, like, the pressure's on them to maintain that gap, and they haven't necessarily been here before. So right now, as everything stands, if Arsenal keep going the way that they have been going so far this season, the league is theirs to lose, and that could add so much pressure. That could really make or break a lot of people, a lot of teams as well. They're not necessarily used to being in this position at all. And the thing is, well, like, why I say if City could kind of keep the pressure on them and stay at an arm's length distance from them for the entirety of the season, you never know what could happen, because City have been here before. They've been the one chasing the first place spot. They've been the one maintaining the first place spot. But more often than not, I feel like they've been the one, chasing after and trying to keep up with, in recent history, Liverpool, keeping up with Liverpool like challenging us to our very best, pushing us to our very best, and vice versa. City also pushing Liverpool to their very best as well. And then, more recently, Arsenal has been in the conversation, and Arsenal have kept us on our toes and everything, where we've kind of had to maintain the top spot, and then at times also, after losing top spot, having to regain it, so chasing after it. So City have been here before. Liverpool have been here before. Arsenal haven't. The only difference is that Arsenal have a much stronger squad and foundation and everything like that. So this is going to be a huge test for Arsenal. They're missing Gyökeres, they're missing Martinelli through injury, and they're not going to be available till the end of the international break. So that's a huge loss for them. However, they have the squad depth, and we've seen that. We have seen that so far this season, because they've already had injury blows with Martin Odegaard and Noni Madueke. Saka has been out injured as well, and they've been able to deal with that just beautifully, because of what they've built, because of what they've spent this summer. All the incoming players that they've had this summer have been able to fill in and everything like that. So this is a position that Arsenal, this is new territory for them too, because that's how they've fallen short in the past 2-3 years in the league, because of a lack of squad depth, and they finally have that now. So them missing Jokeres and Martinelli, that is going to be a huge blow, but they are more than capable of dealing with it. If they could just kind of like see off the match against Sunderland, and then they could have players kind of like limping into the international break and stuff like that, they'll be set for afterwards, because once the international break ends, they'll get Jokeres back, they'll get Martinelli back, and then I believe I saw that Odegaard, Madueke, and who else? There was one other big player that they're missing that I can't remember for some reason. I'm like having a brain fart on it, but those key players are going to be back towards the end of November. So yeah, if they could just push through this final test, they're going to be in a very, very, very great spot, and it's gonna look a lot tougher for the likes of City and Liverpool, and whoever a fourth contender could be, not really sure. I think it's mainly going to be a three-legged race. So yeah, but yeah, no, Arsenal off of 10 wins in a row, 8 in a row with clean sheets. I don't think that Arsenal have done that. Have had 8 consecutive clean sheets with wins since like 1960 something. If I can't remember the year, but it's been it's like in the 1900s the last time that they've achieved something like that. But 10 wins in a row off competitions, they have been doing absolutely amazing. And I said it a few weeks ago. That the next 3 league matches ahead of the next international break is going to be very, very important for City, Liverpool, and Arsenal, because of how tough those matches are and everything. And then you throw in a Carabao Cup match and a Champions League match that took place last week and this week, respectively, right? So far, Arsenal 2 league wins out of 3 down. Looking to get that third one this weekend. They got a win in the Carabao Cup and a win in the Champions League as well. In that time also, City, 1 loss in the league versus Aston Villa, 1 win in the league versus Bournemouth last weekend, and then a win in the Carabao Cup and a 4-1 win over Dortmund this week in the Champions League as well. I think I've said it too in the past week or so, if City could kind of go into this international break with 2 wins and 1 loss, I will take that, because I'm very, very, very confident. I have a lot of belief in the fact that Sunderland can take something from Arsenal this upcoming weekend. I do believe that they can take 3 points from them. I'm not saying that they will take 3 points from them. That's completely different. But I do believe that Sunderland have the quality, the belief, based off of how well they performed this season so far, that they can take 3 points from Arsenal. So if Sunderland can pull that off this weekend and make Arsenal go into the international break with 2 wins and 1 loss, and City could get the win over Liverpool, we'll go into the international break with that same record. City will just be 3 points behind Arsenal after going into the international break. And then once we come back from the international break, Arsenal are going to have to play Tottenham Hotspur in the London Derby, which is going to be a really tough match for them. And then City will have to come back to face a struggling Newcastle side in the league. A Newcastle side that have been struggling in the league this season so far. So that's going to put us in a really good spot. Liverpool, though, are worrying me a lot because of the fact that they've kind of come into some really good form in the past week. They got the win against Aston Villa, which I didn't really see coming. Aston Villa, came into that match versus Liverpool last weekend with the game plan all wrong, in my opinion. And then Liverpool played, in my opinion, the best match that they've played so far this season versus Real Madrid in the Champions League this week. Ekitike has been in amazing form. Salah played an amazing match versus Real Madrid. Andrew Robertson seems to be back into the side, and Arne Slot has kind of like come to his senses that Robertson is probably the best choice at left back, and that Kirk is going to take some time to adapt to life at Liverpool, and he'll have to kind of like grow into being a first team or first name on the team sheet Liverpool player before Andrew Robertson can kind of pass the mantle down. Connor Bradley has been in amazing form so far this season, had a good game against Liverpool. Szoboszlai has been Liverpool's best player by far this season, had an amazing match versus Liverpool as well. he's playing in that more preferred position of his in center of the park, Gravenberch back into the Liverpool side. And you saw last week against Aston Villa just how badly they've been missing him. Alex McAllister coming back into form as well. And a lot of people don't think that he's been really performing all that well, and he's kind of like he's starting to get back into the form that Liverpool fans were hoping he would be in, and everything. So that midfield three there of Szoboszlai, McAllister, and Gravenberch is a holy trinity for them. They play so well together. They mesh incredibly well in the middle of the park for Liverpool. And everything. So yeah, this match this weekend for the City and Liverpool, it's just unfortunate that leading up to this match, it was a really good time for all the other teams that have played Liverpool in the league to play Liverpool because they could take something off of Liverpool. And now, now that it's time for City to face them, they just so happen to get into some really good form and momentum coming into the match. So that's really unfortunate. So yeah, it's going to be a really tough test for City as well this weekend to try to to stay at an arm's length from Arsenal at the top of the table. And I've said it before. I've said it so many times as well that whoever wins this match against City and Liverpool is ultimately going to go on to challenge Arsenal for the title this season. So I really need that to be City, because I do think. Although I think that City have a lot of work to do this season before we get back to our absolute best, or before we can see, the max potential, and for this particular side, because the squad does have a lot of like new players incoming and everything like that have come in this summer and everything. I don't think that we're necessarily going to see. We're not seeing the best out of this new squad for Pep Guardiola. So I do think there's a lot of work that needs to be done before we see the best of this particular squad and everything. But if we could just stay within touching distance of Arsenal, the fact that we have enough players in the side that have been in this position before numerous times over the past what, like 8 years or so, like we can definitely pull it off again, 1,000%. So yeah, this match between City and Liverpool is going to be a very scary test. It's a match that I'm going to be very stressed out about, and everything. But I am confident that we kind of do have the edge over Liverpool, because we've kind of we found rhythm before Liverpool have recently, and we seem to have worked out a good strategy in the past week to kind of allow more players to be in more goal-scoring opportunities than Haaland can, just on the chance that Liverpool can neutralize Haaland and everything. Foden has come into amazing form this season as this new number 8 for the team. Cherki has been in incredible form since returning from injury. Doku is a vital figure for us going forward. Omar Marmoush back from injury as well. He's always gonna be an attacking threat. Savinho played an amazing match against Dortmund out on right wing. We've got players in really good form that have been in good form longer than Liverpool players have been. So yeah, that's going to be it for this video. I don't think that I'm going to be back with any match reaction videos for Saturday. However, I'm definitely going to be back for a match reaction of City versus Liverpool. So tune in for that one when that drops on Sunday afternoon and everything. I do have my gaming channel, Wrexham AFC Career Mode on EA FC 26. Check that out. I'll link that down in the video right here and everything. And then I'm also dropping Ultimate Team video on my gaming channel today as well. That's probably dropped by the time that this video comes out. I'm not really sure yet, but be on the lookout for that also. I'll see you guys on the next one.